Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nature Folklore Sessions. It's 2nd of January 2022, the first one this year. Well, it's lovely to have you join us on Nature Folklore, the first one in 2022, and wishing you all a blessed and happy 2022 as we go into this. Say thank you for joining us. It's our weekly time, as usual, for exploring nature-centered folklore, connecting this within your favorite sanctuary space, and expressing inspired visions from your sanctuary through your poetry, writing, art, craft, performance, and even problem solving. Now, this afternoon's theme is really kind of an indulgent contemplation on 2022 that's now ahead of us, if we're looking at calendars, of course. And this is going to be an introduction to Nature Folklore. And the Nature Folklore Sessions 2022, how I hope this will develop for us, all of us, and also I'm going to include affirmations and manifestations and various folklore interpretations of Epiphany time, which is coming up in a couple of days' time. And what else we got? And I'm going to do a new series. It's going to be creativity prompts. And the one today, I'll explain about this, but the one we're going to do today, and I'll explain it, is obstacles. So that's the first of our many prompts, 52 there's going to be this year. So that's a new feature already today. So we got some great, lovely guests. We have Anne Bowden, who's actually in the background in the green room, the virtual green room. It's lovely to have her here. And she's got a fascinating poem that I said, oh, please come and share this live, because me, as usual, I like performance of poems rather than just read them from a book. And another one who came on board is Penny Stevenson. As you see, she plays the harp. She's got a lovely little poem that she sent to me, and it's only about 20 seconds, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And as usual, these Nature Folklore Sessions, the videos and the tree sanctuary to support, that's how they're supported. Always get this wrong. There we go. I think it's there, isn't it? That's the address for that, for the subscribers. And the support of our subscribers, greatly appreciated, especially at the moment. It's done through Patreon and PayPal donations, and that's what keeps this afloat, because I have monthly subscriptions, and it keeps this going. And so thank you for letting me keep this going, because it's great for presenting the people we have as well. And I know that some of you watching already are subscribers and have been for a while. So as usual, my deep gratitude for your help. So I think let's see, before I get on to anything, say hello to our early birds to the show who are just coming aboard. We got Candice Rainbow Owl, who's coming in via the YouTube from North Carolina. And the YouTube people are really coming in. There's Ashlyn from Limerick there. Someone, interesting. That's the first one. No one actually in from Facebook yet. And we haven't had anybody from Twitter for a while. So thank you for joining us. And I'm sure there'll be a bunch of people very soon. And they'll be saying hello. And so we'll continue with what I've got here. So, Introduction to Nature Folklore 2022. Where are we going to go with this? Where are we going to go with this? Sometimes on Sunday, I very briefly explain why I call this Nature Folklore and not just folklore. And I know that if I focused on folklore and mythology of the tribes, their heroes, and their success in battles, I got some sort of picture to get us into the mood of this sort of thing, I would have a huge following. I know I would. If I carried this sort of folklore that you get in the pictures here, guaranteed huge following, huge popularity, because that's what it is. It's popularism. That's what really is, very popular. But there are many activist people who love to refer back to the ancient warriors. They find this very important that you get to, you'll find if anybody is in any kind of activism, They've got their warriors, their mentors, and their guides, and their stories. This is what fires them up, gets the adrenaline going, and their stories end up being the inspiration, and they tend to be the guidance of their lives. Now, there is a strong belief that these ancient legend heroes were people that were people for the people. And that seems to be what the popularist movement, whatever it's for, that's what they thirst and hunger for through their activism. They just want fairness, of course, but they're activists. However, I find that if you look closely into the archaeological and anthropology findings of these ancient heroes and their lives at the time, you will be surprised that they were of a similar elitism of the multi-billionaires that we may be cursing and forming activism today. Just look at the ancient pictures and the artist's impressions. I mean, will we all be equal to ride around with that kind of jewelry and horses? I wonder. So that was the elitism in their day. But of course, the main difference is in the ancient times, it seems those ancient elitists were not conductors of world pollution and to the extent today's lads are. But they still did some damage. If you go into the stories, there's a bit of damage there. But these people did less damage as there were less consumers. People weren't consuming much. There wasn't the availability. So, there's pros and cons, I think, on that. But another thought is that, say, if we go to a rock concert or a festival, we may find ourselves there. We're in the festival enjoying ourselves, or the big auditorium, and we're enjoying whoever the character is, who's the multi-million selling rock star who's on the stage. A lot of us sort of enjoy that scene. But in that situation, we think nothing about, say, the farmers that added the ingredients to the pizza that we're eating at the festival, watching that multi-millionaire person. There's the pizza slice that we're chomping away while we're in the audience, totally focused and enchanted by the multi-million selling rock star. Poor old farmer who made the ingredients for that doesn't get much of a thought, I don't think. So that's why I bring in nature folklore, because without those farmers who helped create and grow the ingredients that made that pizza, I don't think there would have been a rock star to idolize on a stage. And it's interesting, that foundation to the stuff that we're enchanted by tends to easily get forgotten about. So this afternoon, I'd like to share how I feel about this, and I hope you feel about what nature folklore is. And the nature folklore is not just a set of lovely to hear stories of nature through the cycles of the year. Yeah, that's a joke, by the way. And but it's an actual essential foundation of our being. If our folklore did not exist, I can't see how we could exist, really. And I also talk about how I wish to progress. I'm going to talk about how I wish to progress with nature folklore, with these larks during 2022. I would love for more of you to be part of it. I'm going to invite a lot more people as I find out your talents and so forth. And we're going to be encouraging these talents among you as well. And I hope that as we progress with this, it'll seem like a very good idea and a lot of fun for you. So my own priority code of living is to try and always wake in the morning with an attitude of, what can I do? What can I do today? Rather than what can I be afraid of? Have something you want to get out of bed to. Now, when I focus closer on what can I do, it always seems to have connections way beyond personal memory and inspirations. I want to just put this in comments if you feel this way. I feel when things I want to do, I build on memory as a prompt. How did I used to do it? What can I do today? But I find that I end up going rooted way into tradition. There's more sort of psychic connection, going back into the roots, which I feel is connecting to what we call the folklore. So I believe in holding on to our tradition as much as we can and never allow this to be watered down. Lose that, and I personally cannot see, this is personal thought, what is there to live for? And it's a strange feeling. It's difficult to explain that before, but tradition at its deepest may be what we call instinct. Now, by tradition, I'm not referring to that nonsense that's attempted and forced upon us by the tradition police. You might be familiar with it. Oh, that's not traditional. Don't change anything. You know, the traditional brigade that sort of try and enforce this. The way that some people enforce tradition, it's almost like as if it's another religion. And it's not tradition. It's more sort of doctrine, isn't it? So I feel that tradition has many transitions between us. And to me, tradition is especially communicated to us through folklore. And we have our own links to tradition. We have our own heritage of that. So for me, this helps to gain an understanding of how we become who we are today. And folklore to me, if I can get something, it's an experience of wonderful experience towards self-discovery. And I also believe that if and when we decide to become activists, we actually open ourselves up to becoming sucked into that very thing that we're protesting about. And by doing so, dilute and even lose more of our inner tradition. So much of our tradition, I feel, is not rituals and ceremony, but it's our precious pool of fragile moments and of beautiful experiences, both positive and negative. They all come together in it, of course. And it's through these memories that our sense of tradition, I believe, does unveil. And it's through tradition and its nourishing wisdom, I believe, that we learn to live, and we feel we live a life that we can actually feel contented about and feel wholesome. So ceremony and ritual. Yeah, a lot of people love the ceremony and ritual. And I feel that this can and does evolve from our inner tradition. And I find that very healthy. But engaging in ceremony and ritual out of enforced doctrine, watch that. I think that can be quite damaging. So through living our tradition, we're constantly living according to mining through our memories of past experiences, by our own memories. And we try to synthesize the wisdom of that wisdom. And then the memories that were there in our own heritage, our own family tradition, our own community tradition, and just from all those places that we're drawn to visit. So what unfolds, I feel, from all that contemplation is more clarity about the infinite question of, who am I? Now, main reason I work with broadcasting Nature Folklore is an encouragement to hold on to tradition, and also not only to hold on to that, but do feel free to share it. For me, tradition is our source of waking up and feeling that, what can I do today? Rather than what can I be afraid of today? Now, of course, that depends on how we translate tradition. I suppose that's all attitude, really. Now, to the biggest change I would like to offer you through Nature Folklore broadcast through 2002, after that massive sermon there, is a bit of a shift in the management of this show's content. I would like to have more of your content, really. This is what it's about, and I'm getting really thirsty on this one. So I've broadcasted personal experiences through different folklore, and I've done this for a couple of annual solar cycles, a couple of years, a couple of seasons with this. And it's the subscriber support that affords me on the air to do this. But even though it's an income killer, doing Nature Folklore is very much an income killer compared to the prestige pedestals and platforms that book. Suppose I just released books and made videos and recordings and all that, probably a greater income than doing what this is. But I suppose books and films, I sort of wonder about how much of that is popularism as well, rather than an encouragement into personal thought. Now, so part of the pillars of this Nature Folklore broadcast is to encourage people through guest spots, and I'd like to do a lot more guest spots than what we've been doing, to share their inspirations, their traditions, their lore, and maybe doing this through their interpretations. And I talk about sanctuaries, I talk about tree sanctuaries, which is my favorite, and I encourage that. So I do encourage, find your sanctuary and let your interpretations come out. This is what they did, Carol Crawley and the Labyrinth Gardens. That's what that was all about. Even the Bards in the Woods before that, when we went for nature walk, had the picnics, people share the poetry around the favorite tree. It was all about that. That encouragement of letting that voice out, especially in connection with what's around you. So every Sunday on Nature Folklore, let's have more opportunities to discover who you are. And in the background, I hope to be able to offer more prompts that encourage people. And I'm going to talk about this as well a bit later on. Prompts to explore a richer understanding of the value of them, each other, of yourselves, and your experiences of the spaces you're in. Now, there's room in Nature Folklore for both emotional, spiritual, and also mindful contemplation. But we can have the comedic shenanigans as well. Don't leave that. Either way is all wonderful. Wonderful ways of sharing stories and lore. So every Sunday from this Sunday, I intend to release prompts. And I'll have one towards the end of the show. And these prompts, it'll be our first one at the end of the show. And these will help, I hope, to explore value and trust of personal experiences and memories. So that's a new feature now, starting today, this afternoon on Nature Folklore, is these prompts that I hope you'll go away with and inspire and see what comes. And I'll explain. I'll make it very simple. Anyway, I'll try to serve weekly thought-provoking prompts, as I say, and also some questions that may inspire you. You can write and create according to these prompts, if you keep in your mind, according to the nature folklore realm you live in. What is your tradition? What is your heritage? Allow that to come up and mix that in, synthesize it with a prompt. And then as a bonus to this Nature Folklore show, whenever you could share what flows through you, come on as a guest and share it with us. So I hope this is what'll come to you. Anyway, there must be a few people to say hello to. I'll take a break from that at the moment. There's certainly a lot of people through the YouTube, which I'm delighted. We got Seven Serpents, the delightful Seven Serpents. Believe in the source of tradition is generic. Quite a thought from that. Happy New Year from Tennessee, from Lema. Great to see. Gary's back. Which is wonderful. There you go. There's Gary Brannigan. Hello, everybody. Hello. And the Sherwood Dozer is back with us. Greeting from Sherwood Forest. And I'm going to excuse me for the pronunciations here. Lakia Ramakandran. Have I got close? Anyway, and Penny Stevenson says hello. And she's actually a guest, of course. So she's here in the audience as well. Happy New Year from Buckhurst Hill in deepest Epping Forest, all kinds. And then there's Claire Roach has managed to log in. Look at that. Fantastic. Great to see you, John, here. Elizabeth Flynn is arriving. We're getting the Facebook people now. Great. Happy New Year there. Candice Rainbow Owl was set from New York City. So we got a fantastic audience. Just look at the figures up there. Brilliant. Oh, Tina Rock's just come on as well. Hello, John. Hello, Elle. Deborah Flynn is brilliant. Good morning. Happy New Year. So fabulous. And now you're all in time for our first guest, which is a really wonderful thing. She's been sitting here in the background in the sort of virtual green room. Anne Baldwin is going to be the first guest. She's a very keen, perceptive gardener, spiritual director, and creative author of a beautiful Earthly Blessings blog. In the comments, going to have to put the link for that. It was really bad. I didn't put something in the banners, so forgive me for that. But Anne's blog is full of beautiful poems, and they tend to be related to gardens and contemplations within them, and spiritual garden by the flow of nature. When you read her poems, sometimes I think, oh, maybe I'll take a Sunday off, and saying the same stuff. So there we go. Anne recently published a very moving poem about the seemingly traditional nativity scene at Christmas. And we haven't reached Epiphany yet, so it's still very appropriate, even though half the Western world population has got their tree and their decorations down. In some places, it's barely started. I think it's in Scotland, they adopted the Julian calendar up until the First World War. So this would be the start of Christmas before the First World War in Scotland, which is, I always find hilarious because it was a rebellion against the Gregorian calendar, which I think they regard as the Catholic calendar. But of course, the Julian calendar was put together by the Romans, and the Scots did everything possible to keep the Romans out. It's amazing, these transitions. Anyway, I'm off the subject. We've got this beautiful Anne Bolden here. Let's get her up here and say hello. Hello, good morning, Anne.
Hi, John.
There we go. And I'd better get the headphones on, otherwise I won't have a clue what you're saying. There we go. I'll try that again. Good morning, Anne. There we go. Fantastic. As I say, thank you for coming on board, and wishing you a wonderful 2022, especially with the garden and the farm. Lovely pictures I see with you amongst plants and with the goats, and your lifestyle seems to relate to the things we talk about. But it's this poem, and it's lovely because the one thing in your blog is you really get do what I have fun with Nature Folklore. You take what may be a pretty picture and you get right behind it, and you give your interpretation of the story. And I think you've done this beautifully as far as the how with the stable of the birth of Jesus. So if you'd like to tell us a little bit about that, it's absolutely fascinating, especially how you explained it to me.
Okay, so my background is in agriculture and gardening, and also for a number of years I did home birth education classes, had my babies at home. So I've been interested in the juxtaposition of how the nativity is often displayed with what my understanding and my experience of birthing is, and how much I feel like the traditional nativity scenes miss. So this year, I've been thinking about this ever since I had my first babies, which was long ago. And this year it just seemed to gel into words. And so that's how I came up with this poem that I titled What the Pictures Don't Depict. Most of the nativity scenes we have come to know, those pictures of Mary looking rested, confident and clean, serene and smiling, looking comfortable. They don't depict the weariness, the immobilizing exhaustion of hard labor, nor the all-consuming effort it takes to push a baby out into this world, nor the blood and the amniotic fluid, nor the expelled placenta that needed to be cleaned up after the birth. Those scenes the artists render of spotless robes and a tidy stable or cave with cozy light, they don't depict the manure on the floor, nor the livestock urinating into their bedding, as livestock are prone to do, nor the interior's darkness illumined only by candlelight, nor the fear of being stepped on during and after giving birth. Surely there were mice in the straw. Were there rats? Did Mary nervously notice every sound of scurrying around her? How did she ever sleep? Of course the baby would be laid in a feeding trough. Where else? Set up off the floor, the safest and cleanest spot available. Were there cows? Perhaps they ambled over to the manger, as cows are prone to do, to sniff and lick and welcome Jesus as the new baby in their midst. Did Joseph's role include keeping a wary eye on the attending animals' curious attention to his newly born son? This historic birth was far more miraculous than we in our day and age might readily imagine. Jesus survived. So did Mary. And all the detail not depicted in the artist's renditions makes Mary one of us, and makes Jesus whom she bore by the sweat of her brow, one of us, one with us, Emmanuel.
It's gorgeous to actually hear you. Yeah, thanks very much. To actually have
Thank
you
you.
recite that live, as I say, is better than. I was trying to bring up the picture you had with it, but unfortunately I've lost it. So to give a feeling, but I think by the way you expressed it, I'm sure we got the whole picture of that. And you got another one you're offering us. So another poem.
Okay. So this one was written in the autumn in November, but because we're heading into the new year and the new opportunities to either let go or embrace whatever's to come, it just felt like for me reading it to myself, which I often write for myself, it seemed important. So this is just a short poem about letting go. I am thinking about trees this morning, about the grace with which they accept the season, the what is that is right now. They do not wrestle, as do I, with deciding when to relinquish that which has served them so well, but does so no longer. As the cold comes calling and the day lengths shorten, as I clutch and cling to the light, as their metabolism slows and the autumn winds batter, they silently surrender what they cannot keep. And here is their sustaining secret. Their letting go, so difficult for humans, provides the blanket that feeds their roots and dormant buds that become the promise of new growth when their sap awakens and rises once again, pushing forth new leaves and new life into the spring of the coming year.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous again, and the whole blog that you do, it just follows on with that. So that's the Earthly Blessings blog of Amanda, and we'll get links up either during the show or after. So do follow that; it's worth subscribing to, and I love it when there's stuff that comes out. So, Anne Bowling, thanks very much, and we're bound to get you back again, especially for In Bulk.
Thanks,
So
John.
that was a real blessing having you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I
Thank
just
you.
say, John, when you put the link up to the blog, it's earthy blessings, not earthly.
Sorry,
So
I got that wrong.
just so that when you write it in or copy it, there's no
Yes.
L there.
What I'll do is I'll actually go to the blog and do a cut and paste of the URL, and then there's no mistakes. Then that's the way to do it, and then people can go right through. So, do you actually have a? Do you actually have a poetry book out at all?
No,
not yet. I know. I must admit, it's true enough. Once you get the blog going, that's the book, as I was explaining with these nature folklore. I seem to be stuck into that, and that's the medium. So great. So thank you very much for that.
Thank
lovely.
You, John.
Have a lovely 2022. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Fabulous. Thanks very much. Wasn't that gorgeous there? And a beautiful couple of poems. Earthly Blessings blog. So there we go. Excuse me. Kind of lost it for a second there. That was so gorgeous. Seems we were on. Well, let's see. Bridget Foy is here with us, which is lovely to see. Hello, Bridget. Wishing you a wonderful 2022. And Claire, thank you. I never thought the reality of Mary giving birth. It is quite staggering the way she describes that. It's typical of Anne's poetry. It's great, sort of getting behind the story, which is in its own folklore in itself, which is fabulous. Very thought-provoking, says Penny Stevenson. Lovely imagery. Thank you very much for that. Now I'm going to go into the next thing. This is the beginning of January, and we do, by tradition, we have resolutions that we sort of keep going for a day or two, don't we? And some people try to dig this deeper with their affirmations, and the idea of affirmations, they bounce back as manifestations. I'll try and keep this segment a lot shorter than that first blast that I said. I saw a meme recently that quoted, "Civilizations perish because they listen to their politicians and not their poets." Now, I've read elsewhere that the truth is not sought in poetry anymore, but in philosophical discourse. And now I haven't got many pictures for this. I must admit, I didn't get all the photos I wanted up for this session, but I'll push on with this as best I can. In fact, I think I might change the background picture just for a bit of add a bit of variety, of course. Let's see what we've got. No, it's there we go. Come on, we should have another picture to give you. Let's try. What should we give for the background? We'll give you a bit of this because it's a bit of wishful thinking, isn't it? We're going to be talking about. Okay. So from that, I consider that we do have a constant challenge between trust in our inspirations, or do we trust in the scholarly decided formats of our inspirations? Now, a known tradition to accompany this modern calendar new year that we got is people make these resolutions, and we have a bit of a crack over that, don't we? But once you're back to work after a couple of days, that's it's gone. But firm decisions, the resolutions, we do make our firm decisions. We're going to do this. We're not going to do that. And these, we know of, are assumed commitments to improve our behaviors and lifestyle. Now, modern twist of that tradition has been, I've noticed, probably 20 years or so, the replacement of resolutions with affirmations. People say, no, the resolution is no good, too superficial. I've got affirmations. So instead of blunt commitments that are easy to break, resolutions don't have witnesses for a start. Most of the time they don't. But affirmations are regarded as more spiritual. And they tend to be accompanied by some kind of witness, either in person or trust in a spiritual witness that is your Christ heart or your guide, your spirit guide, animal guide, whatever that is. But we always feel that we're committing to the witness. And the common phrase is, we put it out to the universe when we make affirmations. So often affirmations do not quote specifics. With resolutions, we have specific ways that we command to improve our lifestyle conditions. Resolution might be, I'm going to give up smoking. While an affirmation is, I'm going to stop polluting the air and poison. I'm not going to poison my temple body. So we come out with conditions. We're not giving up smoking. We're going to stop polluting and poisoning our bodies. So it's believed that affirmations can dissolve our self-sabotage ways by following beliefs that are more wholesome, and also by dissolving our ways that and habits that demoralize our feelings. Now, in Nature Folklore, when I talk about Om in some of these sessions, I often include a few words about the idea of the symbolic prompt, because the Om symbols, they're very separate. It came kind of in medieval times when they were locked together into attempts of words. But let's take an apple, because an apple is a wonderful symbolism, as I bring up from time to time. We won't have time for the poem today, but the idea, you bite into the apple and you get that fragrance, psh, and I find that very enchanting. And there you go, you're into this enchantment and you're making your wish, and off it goes. And an apple is symbolic of a wish. So you're putting that wish out there to the universe, as some people say, and it comes back to us in fruition in some way. So I suppose that fruition comes back, we can call that a manifestation response that comes from the affirmation. Now, some Christians have a problem with that. They have a problem with affirmations, and they can even rate them as sin. I think this is due to their belief that affirmations are self-focused. They're not about trusting in God's word. But I suppose with that is something about which translation of God's word are we believing in? But beyond translations, go beyond translations, before there was even words, it does seem that the potential goodness of humanity that's actually described in Christian Gospels, whichever way they're translated, it contains a lot of good that us humans can actually do and share. And we don't have to read the Gospels for that. We can have our own sources for that. But, it's written down, it's there. And these being the sort of wishes that we may place, the stuff they bring up in the Gospels and in the holy books, generally, they're things that we might prompt us into realizing what the affirmations are we want to give. Now, this is where I see the difference between a poet and a philosopher. Both can have similar caring and bonding intents. And thinking of the apple, the quote, the apple, and its prompting, I believe from the enchantment, as I said, from the fragrance from the apple after biting into it. And out we go with those affirmations of love, beauty, and sensory pleasures, because when you get that enchantment, it might be a personal experience. So I feel if you got a good crispy apple, this is the realm it throws you in. Now, the manifestations that transcend back to us after that enchanting bite of the apple, they're really of a kind of a naked, natural beauty, I would say. And the beauty, what comes back, it's not framed in any way. It's not limited. Scholastic things, I feel, very much framed, in order for people to understand this is a feeling, this is a feedback. We've got to frame it in some way. We've got to put it into scholastic order, because humans are always making things. In order to make things, the first thing ancient humans did to become civilized is they learned how to create calibrations of time and space and distance, because without that, they couldn't have built cities, they couldn't have navigated on the sea, things like that. So these are examples of framing stuff. Now, as poets, our perceptions become sensorial. I hope that's a word. I've just thought of that one. Sensorial rather than intellectual, because I feel that philosophers are intellectual, they're not poets. So that's how I see the difference between poets and philosophers. And I feel there's so much more connecting and bonding that's wholesome from being present with our poets and poetry compared with the philosophers such as priests and politicians. So that's my next thought. That on affirmations, resolutions. As I said, I was going to keep it short, so that's as short as I can get. So I'm going to go on to our next guest now. There's a bunch of comments before the next guest. Let's see what we got here. Simon Masters on board, so he's got a few things to chat about. Hey, look at this, whatever that is. There we go. Happy New Year. What's this he's saying here? I'm trying to get this up. You old bugger. That's one old bugger back to the other. Or should I say, one old fart back to another? Anyway, he reckons that something I said that was rational. You reckon poetry is better? Of course I do. And that's worth it. If you don't, put the comments in, because it's lovely to get the different opinions on that one. So that's why I'm putting out to you, poet or philosopher. And that is an incredible debate in its own right. And there's room for both, as I was saying. We make things, we're creative, we calculate things, we frame things. I do. I mean, I wouldn't put the show together if I wasn't framing stuff, but I hope the poetry is the foundation, the psyche and the spirit behind it. Anyway, very deep discussion, that one, isn't it? So on the mark, mate, you're on it like a bonnet. Oh, very good. Well, nice contributions there, Simon. Thanks for chatting with that. I appreciate that. That's great. So, yeah, and that's it. I think we got the comments up to date with that one. Now, with all that excitement, I'm going to find the photos if I got anything. Oh, we got Penny. Oh, dear, we can't do that. Go Penny Stevenson, who's been commenting beautifully so far. And let's get on to her. Our next guest here. Actually, she's not actually live. And Penny, I know very little about, because I do know from the picture we saw she's a harpist and she plays a bit of piano. She's a painter. She's a huge supporter of this Nature Folklore show. And like Anne earlier, seems to be a passionate gardener as well as a tree lover. And she was telling me that she's going to go out wassailing with a neighbor with her and bless her apple trees this month with the wassailing. And so Penny sent me this delightful short poem. It is very short. It's called Hair. So when I saw it, It's just a verse. I thought, please, Penny, we got to share that one on Nature Folklore. So this is Penny Stevenson's Hair, extremely short, but absolutely beautiful. Hair by Penny Stevenson.
Here, I see you, form pressed against cold clay. The quicksilver moonlight traces your shape shifting, while beneath your fleet foot the year turns, the sap rises, drawing down the circle of life from the heavens. Threefold in infinite hair, I see you.
Isn't that beautiful? A little touch from Penny there, and I hope we'll get some more of that. Short, very sweet. I absolutely love that. And some of those hairs there were actually hairs, my photographs of hairs have visited Caracroy. We didn't see so many lately, but that's from, they were Caracroy hairs. Anyway, next thing, there's a comment. So let's, someone said something on that. Thank you, Penny, for that. Let's see. Right, and I love this, Penny, says Anne, beautifully. And Sharon Nickel, beautiful. And Claire said something. There she is. Thank you for the window into beauty, isn't it? That is. It's just a wonderful open. That's a good description of opening the window into the hair. And what a beautiful voice, too. Beautiful reading of that. Stunning. Thank you very much. Anyway, it's Epiphany time coming up in a couple of days' time. And that means different things to a lot of people. They might not even call it Epiphany. In Scotland, it's the Old Christmas. And I think I do have some pictures for this section, which if I can try and line them up for you, because there's some gorgeous things coming up. So Epiphany itself. It's also Nolagnaban, Women's Christmas. And I think I've got, there you go. There we go. That's a lovely picture of a gathering, women's gathering there, a circle. Nollyveg, Nollishorn. And of course, it's now an Epiphany when the three wise men, the Magi, were meeting Jesus. There we go, a traditional sort of thing. Or was it the three wise women that came after, with gifts of nappies, extra built formula, and pop on the heat casseroles for the next week? But being a dreamer sort of thinking lad myself, I do find the stories of the three wise men linked to the Zoroastrians, alchemy, magic, magi, astrology, all kinds of stuff. But that's a whole nature folklore too, so I'm not going to go into them today. But many traditions, they've turned Epiphany Day into a cake day, a sharing of cake. And of course, I talked about black buns. So you make a round back bun for the Epiphany. And there's also, in some areas, they make what they call, I don't know why, I suppose it's because it's related to the three kings. You have a king cake. I don't know where the queen cakes are, but I think the king cake actually is much more than that. I don't know how the patriarchal thing came in on that. But anyway, that was a king cake. And sherry cake with tea is the center of the Nolagnavan gathering, the women's circle. And sometimes this cake is a circle cake, and it'd be a wreath cake as well. And it symbolizes a circle. And I think I've got another one here. Is Sherry on board? I mean, Sherry always on Facebook has always got lots of pictures of cakes, and she's bound to have plenty of fantastic ones on this theme. Now, sometimes you'll find there's a gift inside the cake, and whoever gets the gift, they host the circle the next year, the Little Christmas, Women's Christmas the next time. So that's great. Now, on arrival to any Epiphany Day gathering, whatever it's called, whoever's coming together for this. It includes a gift to the host. The important thing is a gift to a host, accompanied by a blessing that relates to the gift that you're giving to the host. And of course, you've got the 3 gifts from the wise men, that is well known earlier. And then the more sensible gifts from the 3 wise women. And around the table of tea and cake, each of the women also gift each other with gifts and bless each other with blessings. And of course, a lot of this is said than women around the table because the men they're taking over the chores at home. But one popular cake at these gatherings is porterhouse. That's a traditional one for Ireland, especially in the south of Nollaignaban, is porterhouse. I've got another one. That's porterhouse as well. I love that. Porterhouse cake's absolutely gorgeous. So that, by tradition, is what was made and shared. But before the tea and cake, there was probably some of this. There's probably some of this that goes on before you get the tea and cake down you. And of course, after the jolly time, why not a bit of dancing as well? So there we go. That's and like all happy gatherings, someone has to get onto the table. It's a shame in the COVID, this can't go on like this. But going back to the 3 wise women again, and perhaps an older tradition, there we go, a variation of what I've already put up. Meanwhile, the other men are at home. There's the older tradition as well. And there's the men at home, or what should be going on at home anyway, before they return to work. And in Scotland, that used to be the thing. It's now lost in this digital time because a lot of people working from home with COVID, and that's really not a tradition now. But when I was from the years in Scotland, everything shut down on Christmas Eve, whether you were fishing, building, forestry, most things, unless you had a shop open, it was down tools, Christmas Eve, and there was time off with your family. And of course, the Women's Day there was the time the women had their Christmas, and you were the one with the children. Of course, now parents share a lot more these days than perhaps they did in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s. So the whole culture at home has changed, but this is what this came about. In Scotland, actually, the men doing the housework, looking after family, and the women getting the day off, it tends to be more towards Bridget's Day in Scotland, whereas the Epiphany Day around Ireland is more common. But talking of the last days of Christmas, just before the day before work, is that everybody comes together after the women had afternoon tea. People would come together for tatties and herrings. That was the last Christmas supper. The old Christmas supper was the tatties and herrings. Very much a Scottish Island thing to finish off the whole holidays. And so that's families back together. And if possible, that would be outside, and they would be put together. The meal would be put together in a pot on driftwood if the weather was okay. Sometimes there'd be sun out and be snow. So, but the whole sharing of the tatties and herrings was thing. Of course, herrings have been overfished, but kippers, you can do that with kippers as well. So that's the final thing. But there was some other, oh yeah, here's some herring as well. That's another tatties and herring thing. And tatties summer, there we go. And then that's it. The family might be all together again in the evening and having their tatties and herring. But also, Old Christmas was quite a big thing in Italy. And there was this little woman, you don't hear about her so much now, Befana. And she's a lot like Santa. And she gave gifts to children. But she was not Mother Christmas. You would think, yeah, that must be Mother Christmas. She was more like a Mother Nature. Inspiring, because she always was making reference to the new sun. So she appeared, gifts to the children. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new sun. I think that's actually, in many ways, more beautiful than the Santa herself. I love that tradition. And as I say, that is very much an Italian one. And the funny thing is when we get images of witches, they have pimples on their noses, don't they? Well, this actually comes from Befana. There they are. There's a few Befanas there, and they have pimples on their noses, and that comes from the old images of Befana. And I think I've got another one now because she gets hung on trees now, like I was saying about the Christmas goat, and or the Yule goat and the Yule deer. They're hung on trees. There's so tradition of people turning up dressed up as being returned by little objects on trees. So this is one way that the tradition, unfortunately, has been watered down a fair bit. So that's Befana. Now, in ancient Egypt, they referred this Epiphany Day as a new birth of the god Aeon, and who was also born from a virgin mother. And reverence of Aeon actually is reference to water. We had Befana with the sun, but in Egypt, they made a thing quite a bit out of this being a time of water, and especially the water feeding the trees, because they feel this is the most, from now until Imbolc, is the most healing time of the year. So do I have something else on that? A bit of water healing. There we go. That's actually a gathering at the Shannon Pot at Bridges Day, but gives the essence of the idea of reverence for water and healing from this time leading up to the Imbolc. And so I think that's all the pictures I've got of that one. That's quite something. I've got one more guest I'm going to throw in. I didn't mention at the beginning. Let's see what you're saying. New sun, absolutely beautiful. No mention of the three magi in the Bible, except for the three gifts given. Yeah, another mystery. And again, be fantastic. As I say, I think I would need another folklore because there's a few texts around that support that and where they come from and what that's all about. It's very astrology linked, definitely. So that's great. Now I was saying I'm throwing another one. This is actually an encore. I think she was on last year at this time. Marion Peters Mark. She was also going to. Well, each year she's got this very elderly apple tree. I haven't got a picture of her at the moment, so I can't see what she is like, and I'm stuck with this picture. But anyway, she blesses her very ancient apple tree each year, and she made a little poem describing that. So this is Marion Peters Mark. It's an encore from last year. It's very short. Incredibly short. It doesn't even appear.
Coming to you from Chilliwack, BC, Canada. Here's my little poem about my apple tree. Ye old apple tree, gnarled and bent, 80 years spent, without fail, producing a crop each year, with surprising abundance still, enduring, resilient, it's clear. Over the years, limbs have fallen, one limb remaining, and still it stands, moss-covered, gnarled and bent, but still not spent.
So that was a wee bit relating to Marion Peters Mark's apple tree. Absolutely gorgeous there. And Marion, she lives in Chilliwack, British Columbia in Canada. And she runs a very successful vintage clothes shop there. And so that was an encore of the poem she shared with us last year. Now, before being wassailed this time of year, now I think I'll change that. Well, that would take me too long into overtime. Let's talk about prompts. I talked about prompts. We're going to do prompts each week. And the prompt I'm going to introduce to you today is obstacles. So a lot of people tend to be looking at obstacles, don't they, this time? And that's why we've got resolutions and affirmations. How can I get over this? How can I get up earlier and feel good about myself and feel good about the surroundings? So the problem today is obstacles. And it's my first set of 52 prompts for 2022. So is there anything about ourselves that has not been shaped by our past? Let's get that up. I got some pictures for this one. And this is why I encourage exploring memories and events of the past and use that as a pathway to connect with our own unique experience of our folklore. And our memories, they reveal, that's the best picture I could do it, but our memories reveal who we really are and where we are today. And that was the best picture I could. I only rustled that out 5 minutes before the show. And now the mouse won't let me let go of it. And a lot of people do not trust in their memories because memories can be seen as being very tricky and very complex thing. And I find we may frustrate ourselves trying to get the facts right with our memories. And I believe that facts are always an illusion anyway. What's regarded as non-fiction and a fact one day is usually fiction the next day, or even by the end of the day. But some memories and feelings, they're vague, aren't they? Some memories we got very vague. Some memories we got, they're incredibly vivid. And then some memories we got, they tend to be a mix of the two. So I believe that it doesn't matter whether memories are vague or vivid. I believe they're all worth honoring, trusting, contemplating over, but remaining present. You know, don't live in the past. Allow yourself to live the present on that vast experience and wisdom that is guiding you from that past. And now visiting places, on top of that, we have our personal memories, but when we go and visit places, and I love this experience, and I hope you feel this too, that when you visit places, you get a sense of memories. Now, there might not be your own specific life memories, but they're memories of somebody's life. If there's a signature there, and you pick that up, and especially this is amazing when this happens at places when we've not been to before. And I find there's a lot of that. And I'm really, I suppose, the scholars would be horrified with me because I noticed if I visit places of antiquity, they say the sacred sites or spaces, I always know some of the scholarly stuff, the stuff that's down in the annals and being recorded and the Dukas.ie stories. But somehow you think of those, and I find, you've got the memory of those, and then all of a sudden you're in a space and it all comes to life. And what I end up telling a group is not what's in the annals, but what's in my vision. And tell us all about in your comments when you get this. And so I'm ending up describing the vision and homing back to something that's written down as a verification of that, or even to discuss that. But so as I say, I think that happens to places we've visited before. And so, but this is a wonderful thing when we visit spaces that are, I think, very new to us. Now, we do seem to pick up memories from all kinds of spaces, if we allow this. You've got to be bold and confident about this. And I think we pick up vibrations from places. Now, let's see. Here we go. You kind of get vibrations. Pool of water, that's a very good place for picking up vibrations. And I find as well as picking up smells. Where that smell come from? You don't see anything. And it's like as if there's a signature of a smell in many places. And even sounds. You're in places and there are sounds, but, where's that coming from? And all this, I feel, it's imagination, it's vision, and it triggers off all kinds of memories. And the vision is worth holding on to. It's almost like sleeping awake, I find. You're having a dream while your eyes are fully open. And of course, these memories, they're not all happy, are they? Some are melancholy, some are joy, some puts right into a dream. But we come through all of these experiences because we wouldn't know what joy was if we didn't have a melancholy. And memories also seem to change along with how our lives change as well. Do you notice that? We seem to fit memories into our current circumstances. They can be sad one moment, happy another. And it's the same memories adjusted to each of our situations. And that, to me, is nature folklore is its most honest and most active. So I believe it's worth trusting all those silver linings. You know, when we have something seems sad, trust in those silver linings. They can often appear within our melancholic memories, and this is common if we believe that we have failed at doing something, as I ever got a screen that's popped up that shouldn't be. There we go. And then we try. We realize there's actually value in trying. You know, if we think we failed in something, we tried something, and there's a huge value in that. And trying is an attempt to reveal something better. You know, I think I always find through trying, and it's also revelation, because when we think we failed, what's been revealed is a different way of doing something that probably would have a much more friendlier results. And we wouldn't have that revelation if we hadn't tried in the first place. So our returning to memories and their deeper lore, our personal tradition, and all this wisdom, it all, and I think this is the wrapping this up all today, revealing to us what our living patterns are, perhaps in a way we've not contemplated before. And I find this wisdom can help us break away from our self-sabotage behaviors and put us into more creative and better connecting passions, and actually using them and actually enjoy what we could have called failures. So one thing for certain is everybody's got a fascinating story to tell. So part of my intention with nature folklore is hopefully through these triggers, through these prompts, trigger off moments of inspiration that's within you, hidden within you. And I'll do my best to compose weekly topic prompts. So the prompts I'll give you will be related to the topic of the Sunday. And hopefully this will arouse small but powerful memories of your past and your heritage past. And don't be surprised if you unfold and release thoughts that motivate you to take an action in that moment of your life. Now, your inspiration may reveal strengths you didn't know that were there or had become lost. And problems often bring stuff back to life, which is beautiful. Now, anything called self-discovery seems to be like dipping our toes into icy cold water. Now, if Gary's watching, I've got him in mind with this one. You know, you can dip into the icy cold water. Gary, he doesn't even do that. He just dives into the cold water. But, you know, if you dip, you have a choice. You put your foot into the cold water, and your choice is either to avoid the challenge of going any further than dipping the cold toes in the water, or you just jump in and you decide which route to approach the circumstances. You're going to go over it, under it, right through it, jump in. You're going to do one or the other. Now, most of us who will use prompts that I share will use these prompts probably in writing, but they're very good for art, for painting, drawing, and for sculpturing, of course. Now, let's think of the writing. When you write stuff down, you think, oh, that's a load of shit. You know, I'm not doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing. Now, the best thing is actually believing there isn't a right or wrong way of putting things down. I talk about the autumn being prompts, and these are in the days before prompts could be put together into words. So let's think about that as a starting point. Anybody can do that. So I'm kicking off this first prompt with the image of obstacles and leaving you to imagine what an obstacle looks like. Now, is that obstacle present? Is it present with you? Or is it lingering from the past? Or is this an obstacle that you're expecting to appear in the future, such as a fear or a worry? Now, with writing, when we look at this closer, we can surprise ourselves to discover the writing, it's the actual writing, that should never be an obstacle. But what is the obstacle I feel in writing is actually joining together the symbols that you use for writing. It's the actual joining them together into words, into sentences, into paragraphs. And to me, that's where the obstacles are. To write letters down, anybody can do that, can't they? But putting them all together into words, a sentence, a paragraph, whoa, That's very haunting, isn't it? Now, let's give you an example. Supposing you saw a bird in the sky. You got your pen and your paper, and there's a bird in the sky, and you feel you're not very good at writing birds down. You're not an illustrator. So what? You see a bird in the sky, you do a V. Just jot down a V, and you see a cloud, do a squiggle. There we go. And that's the bird you saw. You put that down as a V and a squiggle. That's it. Easy. That was the bird that you saw. And the jotting down little things like that, when you open the notebook in a couple of weeks' time, you see that V and the squiggle for a cloud. What happens? The memory of that bird and the lovely day that you had, or just because you put a V and a squiggle down. So do you think that's very easy, isn't it? It's a great starting point. Now, some of these squiggles, they will actually eventually become little drawings, and you will expand your squiggles into letters, and they become words, and they eventually become sentences. But those don't happen until you get that little squiggle down in the first place, because that straight is the closest thing from your sensory response. As long as you've got a notepad of some form, or in these days, some people will have a tablet with a pen, won't they? But whatever it is, you'll start crafting these things into something else. And we'll get into a bit of a vision quest when we open up our notebook and we see all these squiggles and all this imagination. They will start linking together, and we start joining it together. And as we join in, as I say, there's suddenly words there, there's sentences, there's a poem, there's a drawing, there's a painting, there's a sculpture that's started. But the important thing, I feel, is never be afraid to let your memory and imagination take you somewhere. Now, the other thing that's very, very important is when you squiggle stuff down and it's an expression, don't even think of them as being something to impress others with. Don't even think of them as being there to try and win competitions. None of this inspirational work should be competitive, not in any way. Never worry about the length of writing or the detail of your art. This could all be crafted in later, if that's what you desire to do. Now, the crafting of our expressions, that's a very different therapy. And that's what I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about prompts, something to inspire expression that could manifest more prompts. And eventually they all join up as a memory, as your own folklore. So each prompt is an enchantment upon us, and get a load of prompts, and that enchantment becomes more and more contemplating. And it surprises us with wonderful untangling clarity and vision. So the conclusion is discovering that there's no right or wrong in our expressions, and any obstacles that we have are easily dissolved away by these visions. So next Sunday, I'm going to be covering water divination. So what visions or any thought does the idea of water divination give you? Try during the week, or even right now, doodle some stuff down around that vision. Doodle anything and thoroughly enjoy it. Don't expect it to all join together, be linear. It's not out to impress. Don't allow it to be competitive. Allow it to be what you are. So that's my prompt. See if you can overcome obstacles with simple expression and simplicity. So I challenge you to that. That was long-winded, but that's the one this week. And Tina's saying something there. I'm not quite sure what it is. She's done an expression. There we go. Tina's made a start. And we got Deborah Redden, who's arrived. Hello there. And Pamela Stevenson, Salisbury Crags, Edinburgh viewed from the Royal Mile was like that for me. The sensibility. Yeah, that is, I can understand that one too. Strong sense of being connected to a powerful and ancient source of joy and wonder. And I must admit, I feel that when I'm in that spot myself. Sharon Nichols, very interested in heritage memory. There's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with it, and I invite you to have a lot of fun with that as well. And it's very revealing as well. And it gives you a lot of clarity about your stuff. Now, Anne's got a big thing to say here. I think it helped me make sense of a particular memory of an old gate leading to my grandparents' home space. When I see gates like that one now, I don't have specific pictures of memory, but I have deeper evoked feelings. Not just, look at this. Ad's almost done a wonderful blog post. There's a wonderful bonus for us today. I love this. Not just the gate, but this is memories of the mountains and gardens and old apple tree and the feel of their lives and hold moments very dearly. Well, that's a lovely example, Anne. Thanks for taking a moment for typing that out for us and sharing with it. And Big Bear's here. I haven't seen you around for a while, so lovely to see you and wishing you a great 2022. Thank you. Great to have the Big Bear through the YouTube. We haven't seen him for a while. And I love the reference for nature shared by guests. And John says Claire. So thank you. That's anyway. Enjoy your comments. I got a thing. There's a new thing on the StreamYard. There's a big flashing light. There's new comments. It tells me this is a new feature. Thanks, John. You're an inspiration to the show. We're down to, and then Simon Masters is calling on Lisa Finch to have a look into this. Thank you, Simon, and thank you for being on board as well. And then Susan Craw, hello from snowy Michigan. Oh, I see what Tina's doing. She's doing that symbol is a bit of clapping. The StreamYard have an interesting interpretation of that. Anyway, so that's. I hope that's been a lovely introduction, and I hope you'll enjoy the prompts as I share them with you over the coming weeks, and we'll talk about that in relation to the subject. So let's talk about the coming weeks. As I said at the start of the sessions, this is all covered by the wonderful Patreon and our subscribers. Thank you very much for all that to keep us going. And I'm going to be if we can get more guests on, I'm going to try and spend a lot more time, all the stuff that I've done in the past couple of weeks, extending the recording and making a lovely library, little short videos of all these things I talk about. So I'm not repeating myself too much, and you can just, as a subscriber, go in and at a leisure watch for a few minutes every now and again, maybe to send you to sleep some nights. But exclusive to subscribers, $1, pound, or euro a month or more. It goes a long way when it all collects up. So coming up next week is the 9th of January, and it's the first of our divination. And there's a picture. We have a divination there, and so that's me. I'm blocking myself out, and while set up, just to finish off, I'm going to give myself a different virtual background whilst you're contemplating into that lovely pool, which is our local well there. And I'm going to get back to that one. All right. Anyway, 9th of January, first of divination series. And because water is an incredible, powerful divining medium, it's a prophecy of life in itself, I find. And this is a very favorite nature folklore subject for myself, a lot of the viewers, a lot of the guests that we have as well. And then on the 16th of January, the week after that, we got the second of the divination series. We're going on to Ogham. And we have a few Ogham sessions through the year, but this one's strictly going to be the divination. And we're going to look at the ways people are using for divination. It doesn't really go, a lot of people think this is ancient. I think the prompting is ancient, but the way people are using Ogham for divination now is quite modern. I say modern, probably 200 years, up to 200 years, and especially since the development of the Wicca movement, and certainly since the 50s, it's become quite popular as well. And at some point, I don't know if it'll be that week, it'll probably be the following week, we're going to be, Anne-Marie is going to be talking of Delmont. Anne-Marie Delmont will be talking about divining. We'll have her back for a session. So I'll probably do that the week after. We'll have her because as I say, we are using Ogham symbols as a medium. Our scholars hate that. But you talk about it as a prompting. Anyway, 23rd of January. That's actually a serpent coming out of the water there. We're going to talk about water serpent myths. Very big, obviously, in Chinese New Year and out in the Orient, the idea of the water serpent. We have the fire serpents. I talked all about that around Sawan. But this is going to the idea of the water serpents. And there is some folklore in Ireland and beyond. It's just been forgotten about. So I'll share some of that. It's all about symbolism of our spring that's about to burst out. I think, yeah, there we go. Someone today, there's been people posting pictures of snowdrops, because with our mild weather here in Ireland, the snowdrops have been popping out. And Denise Terry, for instance, put one up today, although she's not watching today. So spring is popping up early, so we'll be talking about the new spring. And of course, as I say, it's very much the Chinese symbol of the new year. So we'll look at how those myths relate as well. And so we'll have Anne-Marie Delmont as well give us a bit about the divining she does. And then from the 30th of January, I'm gonna present a 4-part Imbolc series. And do I have a picture for that? We'll probably get Sarah Hamble to help us out on that. So that's what's coming up. Let's see what you're saying about all that. Lots of comments coming up. Simon Masters got some daffodils up. Fantastic. Everything's going ahead here. Susan Kroll, runes work very well. Yeah, runes very similar. And I will talk about that with the Owen because, as I say, it's modern, but people have used symbolism, and especially on wood, especially on stone. One that people are familiar with, although they don't talk about it much these days, is the I Ching and the yarrow stalks. That's another one as well. And so Tina Rock, John, the pen is flowing. Well, yes, we need to get you on with your poems, Tina. The pen's flowing as the water-inspired topic. So looking forward to your live presence, Tina, at some time. I hope that'll happen. Wonderful working on the obstacle of family who have never supported nature. There's a thing as well, says Candice. You know, sometimes you got to work around that one as well. And Simon Masters is contemplating on that one. Great. Was waving to Deborah Redden, my long-lost Belfast family cousin from Carlow, who I shared the invite. Thank you for the support there, Tina. And Simon's back. Bless you. Thank you very much as well. Bless you too, Simon. That's great. Brilliant. Okay. I think I've covered your comments there. We've had a pretty good session. If you're watching this as a recording, as an archive, please still leave your comments here. I do come back and answer them from time to time. Subscribe if you see the bell on YouTube. That lets you know what's coming up week to week. So it's leaving me enjoy a lovely 2012, and I hope full of prompts, inspiration from the prompts. And I'm trying to find this bit. I've enjoyed this. I really enjoyed sharing this. I was a bit, I wouldn't say nervous, but my preparation for today wasn't that great. And for some reason, I'm not on the screen. So I'm going to show off and get myself back on the screen because something is blocking me. There we go. I'm back. So all right. So have a safe week full of wonder, inspirations, enchantments, maybe due to your prompts. Wishing you an absolute fabulous 2022, especially the kickoff. And until next Sunday, play well. And that's all I got for today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next Sunday. And now I've lost my farewell banner. There we go. Bye-bye. There we go. Thank you very much again, Anne, and I see you held on right the way through that.
Thanks
That
a
was
lot,
lovely.
John. Thanks a lot, John.
I hope you
Bye-bye.
enjoyed that, and we'll get you back as soon as possible, and we'll get the links up so that more people get to know you. So have a
Okay.
great time, and again, thank you so much for that. Thanks,
Have a good week.
and you as well.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.